A harbor sadness I can't shake. Avoiding what's burning, walking the safer path. And the wheels, they just keep on turning. Why don't we feel it embracing us? There was a time when magic opened up our eyes. We struggled jaded in the cold every day. Why is it so hard to let love unfold and stay? I'm in the same song, never writing the words. And our wheels, they keep on turning. Why don't we feel it embracing us? There was a time when magic opened up our eyes. Why don't we feel it embracing us? There was a time when magic opened up our eyes. The further we move on from all those yesterdays, happiness gets nearer. The light that we see closing in so fast ahead. It's hope, it's getting clearer. The more I think of all the tough times we survived, the more it makes me smile. If nothing's broken us, yeah, nothing ever will. 'Cause dreams are hard to kill.
What is Homestead heroic? For me, it's a vision, the desire to be self-sufficient, to provide for my family in a way that ensures I'm beholden to no man, to be a little more reliant on God's provision and a little less reliant on the supply chain. The focus is on community, learning, self-reliance, and personal responsibility. Learning from one another, an opportunity to teach, an opportunity to learn. The content of this channel will be focused on many things regarding self-sustainability, homesteading, gardening, reloading, defense training, building, crafting. Many disciplines will be taught, and I have no doubt that many more will be learned. I can't wait to share this journey with you, and I hope you're equally excited to go on it with me. Welcome to Homestead Heroic. Be strong, stay safe, keep the faith, and Godspeed. Well, alrighty then, and I am once again maybe jacked up a little high here. Check mic, 1, 2, check. So, I never played EVE Online, and therefore have no idea what that's all about. Are you guys getting music audio? I think it's showing music audio. I think this also might be a little loud. Maybe. We're gonna go ahead and turn that and get that out of the way. So we're back to reloading, 9mm. Hi, wifey. Hello. I don't know how long we'll be talking. It was interesting. So I caught wind of a thing called, I don't know if you're familiar with Project Veritas. Caught wind of a thing called Project Veritas. An apparent undercover news organization that calls out they spent the last 2 months they managed to get inside of CNN, and they got a hold of like the 9 a.m. Calls for CNN, where the president and CEO Jeff Tucker were on CNN's call-ins, and this was supposed to be like this super explosive, like, bombshell. We got them, guys. They obviously, we all know that all of the media outlets have bias, right? Fox is obviously right. CNN's super left. MSNBC is left. ABC and like PBS is like probably the closest to the middle. And then you've got all like the fringe. Hey, Eric, how's it going, fam? You've got like all the like fringe news organizations, or like the YouTube news organizations. And then you've got like OAN, like Other American News Network or whatever it is. It's almost impossible to keep up with everyone who's reporting the news nowadays. I certainly have a hard time keeping up with it. But this Project Veritas is supposed to be like outing CNN right now. Holy crap, that went nuts. But the funny thing is I haven't seen really anything. I haven't seen anything that really would indicate that they're outing anyone. It doesn't look to be as groundbreaking as maybe they wanted it to be. But it's interesting to get people's take on mainstream media. For me, I obviously do as much as I can to take in as much media from as many different places as I possibly can, just to hopefully get an idea of, to try and make sure that I'm not, like, I have my own biases and I know what my own biases are. But as far as information goes, I think it's obviously super important to not just watch the news networks that confirm your own bias. It's important to look outside your box once in a while and, you know, get a lay of the land according to everybody, not just, you know, your one your one thing. But yeah, so Project Veritas was supposed to be like blowing the cover off something, and I'm like, so far I'm unimpressed with the information that they've released so far. It's not been as big of a bombshell as I think I was expecting. I was expecting, oh, they're you know, CNN confirms that they are you know, making crap up. They're CNN can, like, we were able to confirm that CNN is literally like making stories up, or they're, you know, pinning things on people that aren't actually true, or, you know, they admitted that they were lying or something like that. And literally I mean, we're just like, this is just getting started now. Like, they're just starting to drop little clips and snippets and stuff like that. But I also, like, anytime for me that a news network drops news and they don't release the whole statement, or they don't release all of the tape, that immediately to me signals they're telling a story to me instead of letting me decide for myself. Like, do you remember back in the day? Do you guys remember back in the day when, like, news organizations actually just reported the news? Right? They didn't try and spin it. They said there was an accident on 45. This many people were involved. Da 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 da. What happened to that? Because nowadays we ended up in a situation where it's literally, there was an accident on the highway. The Republican was driving a blue sedan and the Democrat was driving a Tesla, and they crashed. And the Republicans are racist and the Democrats part of Antifa. And it went down right there in the highway. And it's literally turned into like, what can we use to spice this up? Instead of just, there was an accident and that was it. Like, what happened to the news? I want to know what happened to the news, because it doesn't feel like the news is the news anymore. It just feels like the news is out to maim and slaughter one political, like, one side of politics or the other. And I don't get it. I grew up in a day and age where you turned on the news to get an idea of what was going on. Now it's, you turn on the news as a form of entertainment, almost. And I don't know. Is that just me? Is it just me who feels like that? Because I literally, like, I don't even want to turn on the news anymore because it's a crapshoot as to whether or not you're actually going to get anything of value out of it, or if you're just going to go to bed angry. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Cowboy Tech? Am I the only one who grew up in a day and age where like the news was the news and it wasn't a political statement? Because I feel like we now live in a time where everything's a political statement and nothing's safe. Nothing's safe from politics anymore. And I would actually love to get back to a point where we actually didn't care. It's exhausting. But yeah, apparently this thing, I mean, we all know that the media has its inherent biases, right? Where do you guys go to consume and get your news? Because I'm looking for new news sources. Because obviously we all know CNN, we all know MSNBC, we all know Fox, we all know the mainstream sites are just like broken. First off, you go to YouTube and you saw me live. Well, so worth noting, I'm not a news organization, right? So if you came here for the mainstream media and you came here for the news, I'm not the guy to give it to you. I'm the guy who's going to say, yeah, the mainstream media is full of crap on both sides on multiple occasions. You should probably look elsewhere. Because that's the thing. By the way, huge shout out to Denny at Glock for sending me a brand new pad here. I have a Glock, the Glock 17 Gen 5 breakdown. I have a Glock 19, very similar though. But this pad is absolutely dope. It's got a full exploded view of the Glock 17 with all the parts and all the stuff and things. And it's very, very tasty, I have to say. Everyone with a platform is an advocate. I don't watch movies or sports to hear their views on things. I just want to see a quarterback throw the ball and an actress say their lines. That's fair. That is fair. Well, I mean, that's part of the reason why I separated this out personally, was because I know that people don't come watch me play video games because they want my opinion on politics. If they want that, they need to come here. I generally have been trying to stay. I've been generally trying to just stay the flock away from that whole topic. And this is a nice outlet for me to get out my frustrations and to ignore all of that and just not say whatever I want, because I don't think that that's helpful in any way, shape, or form. But it's an outlet where I don't have to really like care, right? And not just that, but I hope that as things progress, we get an opportunity for people who are not of like mind to come here and speak their piece too, have their opinions heard. Because I also think that we need to as a country, first off, be more well informed, which is why I wanted to talk about mainstream media tonight, because I don't feel like anyone does a good job of informing us anymore. So the more we can be getting our information from multiple sources to get both points of view, the better. But also to figure out where everyone else is getting their information from too. Because if we're not sharing that information so that we can have educated talks with people, then we're not doing ourselves a service. I thought you were supposed to be making hollow points now. No, actually, I have my 50 hollow points that I made. I tested 5 of them when I went up north for Thanksgiving, and they all shot fine. So I've still got a set of 45 hollow points. I don't shoot hollow points unless they're literally my self-defense round. That's it. So the rest of these rounds are probably just going to be plinking rounds. These are going to be practice rounds and reserve rounds, right? The only time I'm going to be using these in a scenario like that is if we're talking shit hits the fan, if we're talking SHTF where something catastrophic happened and the country goes dark, right? That's when I'm going to be pulling out the FMJs and not carrying. Because if rule of law is out the window, it doesn't really matter what I'm carrying. Realistically, having those 50 hollow points is probably actually excessive. The only other time I would potentially, well, so yes, you're supposed to practice with what you plan to use. I agree. However, I will tell you that the ballistic coefficient between 115 grain hollow point and 115 grain full metal jacket using the same amount of powder and the same primers is really not going to be big enough to warrant me practicing with the more expensive hollow point round. I am thinking about getting a truck gun. That would be a 9mm build, an AR platform, but it's going to be built on the 9mm spec. At which point I would want to have, 30, 60 hollow points. I would want to have 60 hollow points loaded up in, a 30 round mag in the truck. That would be when I would load up more hollow points and want to have those. But again, I did not see when I shot, because I shot both my hollow points over the weekend. I shot both my hollow points and my full metal jackets, and there was literally no difference between the two. They were both just as accurate. And at 21 feet, I put everything, like, I shot 35 rounds. At 21 feet on a 4-inch circle, 9 of them were out. So I'll take that and that was with 9 of them were out, and that was with I was in my leg rig. I was using my leg rig, and that was draw, fire, mag swap, fire, back in. So I was drawing and doing a mag swap in there, and only not at 21 feet. I only had 9 rounds that were outside of a 4-inch circle. So I'm not overly concerned with the accuracy of the rounds, and I'm not overly concerned with the difference between the hollow points and the full metal jackets. I have to say that the self-defense training I took, which by the way is only going to be on Patreon, it was requested by the instructor that I don't just put this generally out on YouTube. And I can see why. I know why. Oops. I should probably put powder in that first. That self-defense training, the edit for the self-defense training is only going to be on Patreon per their request. But I do have to say that the virtual simulator was worth every penny. They ran several different scenarios with us. And the decision making that goes, like, the value is having someone there watching your reaction to the simulation, right? And so the simulation, for example, was you're at a party outside. There's a few guys that are off drinking on the side. You're hanging out over here. You go to leave, and one of the guys has a gun, sticking out, and he tells you to sit down, right? Taps his gun, and how you react to that scenario and the way that you interact with that person will determine what happens. Let's just say I got shot. That being said, in a real scenario like that, I would have already been around the truck and almost in the truck by the time he decided to do something. So it was an interesting simulation, we'll put it that way. We're good, Irk. We're chilling. I figured I'd get the last half. I had about 25 of these done, and I wanted to finish the last half of them. Maybe I'll press another 50. Or alternatively, I'm going to come hang out in Discord with you guys and play Apex, because I'm like 150 RP from Gold 2. And I really, really, really would like to get to Plat. I'd love to get the Plat before... I would really like to get the Plat before the end of the season, which is in 14 days. So we shall see. But we were talking a little bit about Project Veritas, which is supposedly, well, not supposedly, they absolutely recorded, in secret, recorded the 9 a.m. calls at CNN. That included the CEO, the president and CEO. So it's been interesting seeing them release tidbits of what is said at those meetings. And you can, I mean, it's crazy because you can see the bias, right? We already knew that CNN was biased anyway, but you can hear the bias in the room, with the way that they're interacting with some of this stuff. I really would like to see him release all the tapes in the raw, because what I don't agree with and what I think devalues what is happening there is that they're editing stuff, and you don't know what they're saying when they're editing stuff, and you can tell that it's edited, right? So if you're going to edit stuff, I don't know what you're editing out there, right? And if I don't have full context, that means that you have an agenda and you're doing something, and I don't know what that is, right? And I just give me all the information and I'll make my own choice, right? I will make my own informed decision. I've always been that kind of person. I don't need you to tell me how to live my life. I don't need you to tell me what you think about whatever it is, right? That's the biggest problem that I have with the media today, is that they're no longer reporting just the news. They're giving their take on the news. And I don't want that. I don't need that from you. I just need you to give me the information and I will make an informed decision for myself. But unfortunately, they like to treat everyone like they're sheeple. And that's the kicker, right? Is that we end up in a situation where people stop thinking for themselves, stop making decisions that are best for them and their family, and they're making decisions based on what everybody else cares about. And I'm like, what? Why? I know what my health is. I know what my family enjoys and doesn't enjoy. I don't need you to tell me that. Just give me the news. Let me know what's going on around me, right? That's unfortunately what we've gotten away from as a society. Somehow we have gotten okay with people telling us with what to think and how to act and who we should vote for and whether or not we're boy or girl. That's not okay. So I don't know. But I did want to get a take on where everyone else report and let me decide exactly. I did want to see where everyone else gets their news from, though, because we obviously know that the media, the mainstream media, has got a huge slant one way or another, right? Whether we're talking about Fox, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, NBC, PBS. How in the world did we get to a point where all of these news networks have three-letter acronyms too, by the way? What in the world? Where did that come from too? I know OAN is out there. The Epic Times. Vox, New York Times, and HuffPost obviously lean very left. The Epoch Times has a tendency to be somewhere center right. OANN obviously is very right. They're very right-leaning. Breitbart is right-leaning. Who else am I missing? New York Post is right-leaning. Try to think if there's any other news sources that I end up going to. The crazy thing to me, okay, that read 4.3. I set it back down and it read 4.5. Are you kidding me? The problem I see is that some of these news organizations have stopped covering the same stories, right? I'd love for these news organizations to all cover the same stories, and then I can get them from the different perspectives and make an informed decision about what the heck is going on. Weather and traffic lately, that's fair. I don't think a lot of people don't want to watch the news, and I don't blame you one bit, right? Frankly, I'm just keeping my ear to the ground and this is going like, I'm going to go full conspiracy theory on you guys. I'm keeping my ear to the ground to make sure that I don't end up in a situation where I can't get out of the city. Because they obviously in LA and New York, and a few other places have just started locking people in their houses, and you get arrested if you go out after curfew, right? The minute that they start locking down and having curfews, the minute they start curfewing my city, I'm out. I'm leaving. Which means I might not have some streams or whatever, but I am not going to be around for when they start delivering vaccines in trucks and forcing people to take things or arresting people for living their life. I'm not going to be around for that. I'm not going to stand for it. I will pack my stuff up and I will leave my city, and I will leave and go up north. No, that happens every once in a while. That bullet doesn't seat quite right, but I'm not doing that. Yep. Exactly. And I firmly believe that if you are to be an informed person, I think you're naive to think that we could never get to that point, because we are already. And my concern is history repeats itself. History repeats itself. And we know that. We've seen it time and time and time again, right? And if we look at what's happening right now, right? And this a little bit goes back to kind of like Great Reset stuff, but it's also a matter of just looking at what the general trend is, right? I don't like the fearmonger people. Because I know where I'm going if I die. When I die, I know where I'm going. I know where my wife's going. I still don't know about the kids. I mean, obviously they're too young to make that decision yet. So who knows? But I have to believe if they haven't had the opportunity to make that decision that I'd know where they're going. But regardless, the writing is kind of like it's coming together. And if you see the likeness for things like the Mao dynasty in China and Nazi Germany in the 1930s, there are a lot of similarities to what happened in Nazi Germany going on right here in America right now. And that's scary. And as much as the mainstream media and people on the left want to think that Donald Trump is a fascist, if you see the legislation, the policies that are being made, which is what matters, by the way. If you look at the policies that are being enacted as we speak, Donald Trump and the Republican side aren't the fascists in this case. The amount of propaganda, the amount of control, this all comes down to control, right? We're going to go full conspiracy theory on you guys. Or maybe not conspiracy theory. I'm going to lay out my observations here. And what I think is the biggest thing of concern right now for me and my family is there is a massive dependence issue that we have going on in this country right now. People are dependent on the supply chain. We're dependent on the supply chain. We buy our food from the store. If the supply chain goes kaput, then what? Right? So we're already reliant on the supply chain. What are the latest unemployment numbers right now? $11.1 million in October. 3.6 million have been unemployed for 27 weeks or longer right now. So 11.1 million people are unemployed right now, which means that those 11.1 million out of 330 million in the country are dependent on the government to get by right now. Unemployment, food stamps, etc., etc. Right? I think what was the Great Depression unemployment levels? Something like 27.5%. Let's take a look here. Unemployment rate, the Great Depression. What is that, 1200? What's the scale? So, yeah. So it peaked at 25% in 1933. The Great Depression started in 1929. Peaked at 25%. Mainstream social media loves to brainwash people and convince them the government knows what's best for them. 100%. And that's what I'm concerned about. Right? They're going to tell you that you can count on us to take care of you. Now, I don't want that. I don't want you to take care of me. I can take care of myself and my family. I am reliant on the supply chain right now, but I'm not reliant on the government. Thank the good Lord. I know a lot of people are, right? And a lot of people have been booted from their jobs and things along those lines. So this is not a knock on people who are reliant at the moment on the government, because the reality is that it happens. A lot of people are out of a job right now. But the fact of the matter is they want to get to a point, from everything I'm seeing, they want us to get to a point where we are reliant. Where everyone can have a hunky-dory life, right? But no one owns anything or has anything or whatever. And I don't That's not the country I want to live in. If I want that, I'll go to China. If I want that, I'll go to Venezuela. And I understand that there's a difference between a social democracy, right, and a socialist country. We have services based on socialism now, Medicare, the VA, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I understand that there's a social safety net for those who need it, but the vast majority of people don't, and they want to get us to a point where we do. And I'll tell you right now that I will go off grid with my family before I submit to the mark of the beast and take a frickin' paycheck from the government and all of that jazz. Which is why it's important to have a plan. Which is why it's important to, prepare as best you can. I think I think every person who desires to can prepare themselves to be self-sufficient, but you have to start, right? You have to start somewhere. You have to start with a small herb garden, in your windowsill, or, we're actually looking at seeing if we could set up the basement to grow tomatoes in. I would love to be able to grow tomatoes year round. I think that would be something, because the kids love tomatoes. We love tomatoes. We can use tomatoes for a lot of different things. You can use tomatoes for soup. You could use tomatoes for a basis for chili, all sorts of different stuff, right? And being able to have a small garden can allow you a little bit of flexibility, right? Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I agree with you, Britt. I think that the government has the ultimate control when people are dependent on them. And the more that we allow them to say, yes, you know best, the harder it's going to be for us to get out of it. So I'm doing what I can when I can to make sure that I'm prepared. And again, who here has seen the show Doomsday Preppers? What's up, Zane? How you doing, brother? I honestly, I will never hoard 6 months worth of food. Well, yeah, it is, Britt. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But then again, I was raised differently than a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people were raised, with a lack of personal responsibility. They were raised in a way that didn't necessarily help them to focus or understand the importance of personal responsibility, right? And so they weren't raised in a way to say, I don't want your help. I don't need your help. It's okay to ask for help, but don't make it a habit, right? Everyone needs help every once in a while. But when it becomes a habit and you're always asking for help, and it's always take, and never give, that's when it turns into a problem. And when you get to that point, you also are at a point where you're always going to owe someone something. And I don't ever want to be at a point where I have to owe someone something. Like, I get it. I have a mortgage. I owe the bank money, right? In order to have this house. I understand that, but I also have a contract with them. I've made an agreement that I will continue to pay for those things. I will continue to pay off my mortgage, and that I'm good for my mortgage and I'll make it work. And if I'm not good for my mortgage, well, I will sell my house and move back in with my parents, with my child and my wife if I have to make sure that we take care of our debts and to do what we need to do to make it. I am not beholden to my pride to the point where I would not be willing to do what is necessary to make sure that my kids have a roof over their head and food in their stomach. Right? I also know that I am very blessed to have a family that wouldn't hesitate to let me move back in with them. I'm very blessed to have a place to go. If things got bad enough, I know that I have people that I can count on to help me and my family weather that storm, right? And I think that's an important part of preparedness and an important part of having a community that I feel like a lot of people potentially miss out on or lose track of is it's important to have people, right? You've got to have people. And if you don't have people, you got to be looking for people, because no one can do this alone. There are very few people who can do this alone. I've got an entire community. Yo, what's up, Beaked? Yep. That's awesome. That's what we're looking for. I'd love 25. I'd love 25 to 50 acres would be the ideal, because then you've got enough room for expanding and having things like cattle, right? Big animals like that obviously need a lot of space, a lot of pasture to roam in. And that's the dream right now. Right now we sit on a quarter of an acre. We're pretty limited with what we can do here. But that also has gotten me, I've gotten into a mindset where I've been trying to be proactive with things, right? I'm making sure that I'm keeping up on the chores. I'm making sure that, I'm keeping up the house. I'm taking care of all the things that I should be taking care of on a daily basis, to get in a habit of knowing that when eventually we get to a homestead, right? You got to get up in the morning and feed the chickens, feed the rabbits, take care of the ducks, rotate the chickens. Not in our subdivision, Beaked. And that's the challenge, honestly, is that our HOA, before we started this journey, we bought a house where there's an HOA. Newsflash, don't ever do that, guys. It's not a good idea. I would love to have chickens. I'm pretty sure my neighbors would probably shoot my chickens. You got an HOA? Yeah, we got an HOA, unfortunately. Well, there we go, y'all. We stacking up. We got 200 rounds done. And I've got another 50 rounds in the backpack, ready to rock and roll. Plus 45 rounds of hollow point. I just realized that camera was a little off. House Ordinance and Authority. Yeah, so the HOA, Homeowners Association. It basically tells you, did I miss your... So you're saying you're moving to Texas, getting the sheets on the bed now? I told you, man, I'm not moving away from my family like that, dude. Honestly, I would come move to Texas in a heartbeat if my family would move with me. Yeah, they set rules for the neighborhood, and it's supposed to keep the value up. It's supposed to keep the value of the homes in the neighborhood up. That's the point of an HOA. However, the HOAs can also be extremely restrictive, which is what we've got going on. And so, I wouldn't be worried about Callistia taking in my entire family. Like that would never, that's not even a question. That's not even, yes, Karens. That's exactly what an HOA is. Well, and this is a case in point of, like, if you think that the government has your best interest in mind, you're crazy. Because when people have power, they just seek more power. Look at California. Dictator Newsom? Yeah, that's right. Dictator Newsom rules for thee, but not for me. Newsom? That's what they should call him. Gavin rules for me, rules for thee, but not for me, Newsom. That dictator literally locked people up for being out past curfew, and then was out past curfew with a bunch of the medical examiners. Not maintaining social distancing. Eating outside, it sure as heck looked inside to me. And then is out there locking people up because he can. And there's no one to stop him. Because why? They took all the guns. Yep. I said it. So, they wouldn't dare try that there. I wouldn't be so sure, Beaked. You live in a blue state now. Heck, when Texas almost went blue, I was like, nowhere's safe. Flee to the mountains, the Lord saith. The Lord saith, flee to the mountains. Too many guns in here, these here hills? Here's the question I have for you, Beaked. And a lot of people talk a big game, myself included. But when it comes down to it, and the ATF's knocking on your door, how many people are going to shoot back? Texas never almost went blue. I don't know, man. It's looking awfully suspect. It was looking awfully suspect. Blue Democrat. Zane. This is why I love Zane. First off, Zane was my first patron ever. FYI, the self-defense training I took was explicitly requested by the instructor to only be on Patreon. So I am not going to be able to release that on YouTube. However, I will be able to release it on Patreon once I get it edited. So that is an FYI. Two, Zane was my first patron, and God love this man. I don't necessarily think you know much about U.S. politics if you don't know blue versus red. But man, is he sticking it out and learning a thing or two about U.S. politics here. I love you, brother. All four of us in the house are comfy and trained to shoot. Heck yeah. None of that shoot him in the leg crap. Texas only went blue in the big cities. Every big city goes blue. I'm almost American. America! Maybe after this COVID thing's over, you'll be able to make it over here, man. I want to meet you in person for real. That's the thing. you immediately know someone doesn't know a thing about guns though when they think that it would be okay to ever suggest shooting someone in the leg. If you've ever shot at a moving target, you have no idea what you're talking about. If you've ever shot at a moving target, you know that that's not possible. You bring in Chimmy. We've been working on headshots. So one of the things that actually we did work on as part of the training was we did so I was working out of my appendix holster. Everyone else was working out of their leg rig. I have a leg rig and an appendix holster that I use for concealed, right? So we were actually working timings. We were working draw timings and shot on target from holster. The problem was that they didn't have me drawing from my holster. I was doing straight, like there was no holster, and I was using one of their cert pistols. It's called. It's a training pistol. So I was pulling from conceal, but not out of a holster. So like stuff was getting all caught and whatnot. But anyway, point being is that they were actually having me train, and you train from a a ready position here. And they were having me draw and put 2 center mass and 1 head. Because then you're working you're working a transition, which throws off your cadence for in between trigger pulls. So that was actually what they had me working. They were having me work draw, 2 shot on, 1 in the head, scan, and move. Swinging tires are great for training. I actually never thought about that. That would be awesome. Texas was many percent from going blue. Well, I actually didn't look. Once it turned red at the end of the day, I knew that we were fine because they counted votes. They counted mail-in votes early, right? I actually told my wife, I said, you realize there's going to be a blue wave here, right? Because a lot of states, including Wisconsin, didn't start counting mail-in ballots until day of election, right? So not only were we going to get, and some of them didn't start until later in the day, right? So it wasn't necessarily it's always one of those things where absentee ballots are primarily Democrat in a normal election year. Absentee ballots are Democrat. Those get counted up front, but it's always a smaller percentage. This year, because of COVID, lots of people voted absentee. And a lot of people changed the way that they were going to start counting, and a lot of states changed the way that they were going to certify results. And I think that caused a lot of problems with things. 1, 2, there was a fair bit of blue wave happening with all of the certifications that were coming from mail-in ballots. Now again, I'll reserve my judgment for the fraud stuff until after all of the legal proceedings are finished, because there is a legal process that needs to be gone through to certify election results. And obviously there are a lot of affidavits and court cases out there yet to be ruled on before we actually figure out who won the election. But I actually didn't see what percentage has Texas certified on. What was the split, Callistia? I was getting ready for Guardian Con until COVID. Were you coming to Guardian Con this next year? I don't think that we're gonna get to do Guardian Con this year. I hope we do, but we'll see. We'll see if we get to do Guardian Con this year. I am still planning on going to Guardian Con every year. Swinging tires, huh? So how do you mount? Do you put a board in there then? a board in the swinging tire and it goes back and forth. See, this is the beautiful thing about the virtual trainer is they not only do they have the virtual training for like scenarios where you have to make a decision, shoot or no shoot, basically. Like, is this person representing a threat? Does this person represent a threat? And am I going to shoot said threat? Right? Because you don't always pull the trigger, guys and gals. There are plenty of scenarios where you might show or brandish, it's called, your weapon just to scare them away and never actually shoot, right? That is an option. I was coming with Chimmy this year, but then COVID. Gosh dang it, dude. That sucks, bro. You didn't have a ticket yet, did you? But it was very interesting. The funny thing is my brother and I reacted differently to the same scenarios. Because we both trained, but we trained individually on those scenarios. We have a board in the tire that is swinging in front. Nice. That's another reason why I want plenty of land is, I want to be able to train. Okay, that's good. Thank goodness. I couldn't imagine, especially coming from the UK, that ticket is a pretty penny. That ticket ain't cheap. Although this next year, the airlines might be desperate enough to cut people deals, you know what I'm saying? By the way, if y'all haven't done so already, make sure that you drop a like on the stream. Is very much appreciated. And if you have not subbed yet, make sure you sub. 5246. You know what's funny about that, though? You know what's funny about that? I hope we get to a point where we have viable yellow and green candidates. Because I'd like to see us move away from a two-party system where we can and I'd like to see more representation in the Senate and the House too. Because we need to start addressing some of these issues individually. No, not this year. This year was not the year to vote that way, in my opinion, right? This year was not the year to vote that way. If you leaned at all right, you should have voted for Trump. If you leaned at all left, you should have voted for Biden. Plain and simple. Yellow represents the Libertarian Party, which is supposed to kind of be, I would consider myself probably more libertarian than anything. I'm socially progressive. I don't think that we should not recognize if you're gay and you want to get married, I think the government should recognize that you are married, whether you're gay or straight. I do believe we should have a social safety net for those who need it, right? But those who are habitually taking advantage of that should not get it. Did you vote for Jesus Christ? Because if I write in a vote, I vote for Jesus. Did you write in Callisti again? Oh my gosh. But we need representation on individual issues, not like I literally can't vote. I can't vote. Right. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, but unfortunately, the Republican Party has an infatuation with with limiting their right to get married. I promise you, Irk did not vote for Kanye. Irk, you didn't vote for Kanye, did you? Was Kanye even on the ballot down there? I am far from miserable as well. That's just, see, this is where Callistia gets his salt from. No, not at all, Callistia. But the point is that we are not supposed to rule them from God. Like, the government is not supposed to rule strictly from God's law. Yes, murder is wrong. Yes, theft is wrong. Right? There are some inherent morals that everyone lives by. Right? But when it comes to being gay, when it comes to the LGBTQ community, that is not something the government should be regulating. Yo, what's up, PK? You could vote for Big Bird or Mickey. Again, if I go with a write-in option, I'm going with Jesus. But that's neither here nor there. There are certain things that should not be legislated on, plain and simple. And we need parties to represent that, I think. We need parties to represent that. Because if you vote for Republican, you're voting against LGBTQ, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't have an inherent desire to keep gay people from marrying, right? However, I do have an inherent desire to protect my family. I do have an inherent desire to see the black community lifted up, which is what was being legislated by Trump. And there's a difference between saying you're going to do something and actually doing it, which is what we've seen for the last, 30 years. For as long as I've been paying attention to politics, which admittedly is not as long as it probably should have been, it matters what you legislate. Let everyone find their happiness. Just don't push that agenda, and they shouldn't get special treatment either. Agreed. Recognition that someone is trans, I don't have a problem with. But if you think for 1 second that I'm going to be okay with you taking tax dollars from me so that someone can get a sex change operation, you're crazy. You can pay for that on your own dime. What? Why did Pixie just get... What did Nightbot just delete? What the heck was that? Remove moderation. Oh, geez. I just removed Nightbot as moderator. I don't want to do that. Nightbot's back at it again. What the flock did Pixie say? I am mega confused. Hey, do you want to DM me on Discord and let me know what you said so that I can figure it out? But those are the types of things to me that I don't think that's not for the government. That's not for the government to decide, frankly. And the more that the government tries to decide what's good and bad for the people, That's when it starts. That's when it starts infringing. Nightbot didn't catch that. Suck it, Nightbot. But we need more representation in general. I don't know, what are other issues where, like, I'm trying to think what else. What else is a really, like, milestone? Healthcare. Let's talk about healthcare. I do think people should have access to affordable healthcare, right? But not at the expense of. Okay, there we go. I wish church and state would separate. That's why it's illegal for gay marriage and a lot of other things in politics, because they bring their faith into it and it's not supposed to be a factor. Right. It's not supposed to be a factor. Alternative energy. Listen, like, I'm all for clean energy. If we could figure out solar and wind, if we could figure out the battery conundrum, which is why that energy isn't feasible right now. It's not viable because we don't have the technology to harness it yet. And you want to, like, move, right? They want to hammer home this alternative energy. Yes, it does, but how much of the Texas grid runs on wind versus nuclear or solar? How much of the actual grid is running on those technologies right now? Right? How many people in Texas actually are fully 100% converted to wind and solar, right? My brother literally runs reactors. Well, used to run. He now teaches people to run reactors at a nuclear power plant, right? So he's got a pretty good beat on the industry. Nuclear is not going away anytime soon because wind and solar isn't ready yet for most of the country, right? Until we figure out how to divert power to that technology, it's just not ready yet. I get why people are so worried about climate change, but unless we can figure out the technology, or we're willing to just dive bomb the economy, then it's not ready yet, right? So what do we do in the meantime? And how do you cast your vote? I can't cast my vote for incentivizing increased energy independence and alternative energy, renewable energy, right? I can't separate my vote so that the things that I care about, gun rights, ending abortion, healthcare for everyone, but not at the expense of private healthcare, because private healthcare is what keeps the world going round in this country. Continued medical innovation, marriage equality, and lifting up low income communities. All things that I care about. And I could not vote one way or the other to hit all that stuff. So I have to pick and choose what's most important. See, I disagree with that, Pixie. I don't think right now. I mean, I'm sure that there are slush funds for the military that could probably go away. But the idea of Like, defunding our military is going to be a real quick way to establish that we are no longer preeminent as a country. Do we want to be? I'll tell you right now, China is investing like gangbusters in their military because they want to be number one in the world. They want to be number one economically, and they want to be number one militarily. There is no way that we should be defunding the military with as unstable as the world is about to become. For the first time ever, we had United Arab Emirates, Israel, and Bahrain not shooting each other in the face. I think the issue is determining how much excess we give towards it. And frankly, Pixie, why is the private sector not doing this? Why are we worried about the government figuring this out? The only thing the government should be doing is incentivizing private companies to figure this out faster. First person to figure out battery technology that can store X amount of energy over however long gets a big windfall from the government. Right? That's where I personally think we should be headed. The more government gets their sticky, dirty hands on anything, the worse it's going to be. Let the private sector figure it out. Why do you think the United States is a leader in healthcare breakthroughs? It's because the government ain't managing it. If they are on it, what does the government military spending have anything to do with it? No, she was saying that the private sector's on it. She was saying the private sector's on it. This is part of why I escaped to the woods today, to sort through some of this mess in my head. Wait, what's going on? I think she was suggesting, if I understand correctly, Pixie, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think she was suggesting that if the government took some of their military funding, stood up a committee or something, or a section of government that would focus on renewable energy and the technology around it, that it would move faster. Whereas I don't think that the government touching anything is a good idea, because I think that they mess things up more than they help. Just about anything. And this is where I fall staunchly as a libertarian / conservative, is local government, state government should have way more control over the way people live than federal government should. And the more federal government programs, like the federal government has proved time and again that it is inept. It is incapable of managing just about anything. You know what I find interesting is that people who are like, we need more gun laws. Gun control now. We have got 3,000 gun laws, federal gun laws on the books already. 3,000. There are 22,000 state and local laws around guns across the country. Why do we need more again? We can't enforce the ones we have. So until you can prove to me that you can enforce the ones we have, I'll say no thank you. Come and take them. Because I don't believe you. I still think all these politicians should have a paycheck that reflects the average income they represent, and then use those funds to stimulate and uplift those who they represent. Agreed. We should make it illegal to rob, shoot people, and do drugs so people stop those activities. Oh, wait. I agree with you, Beaked. Why do you think California is the shithole that it is? Pardon my French. Because dictator Newsom and Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris, have just continuously upped their paychecks, while their districts rotted away. Have you seen Speaker Pelosi's district? It looks like a war zone from a third world country. People doing drugs on the streets, homeless people everywhere. And somehow you're in charge of this whole thing? How? How in the world did we let that happen? And why in the world are you getting paid the way you're getting paid? Yeah. We're not even going to talk about the fact that Texas almost turned blue because everyone from California is moving there and then voting the same way that they did when they were from California. Let's play a game! What's up, Yakuza? Nah, he's only inviting people who will vote red. I want to see if that works, by the way. Again, it wasn't close. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. $42, 5, 4, 3. Two, one. Now what? Now what happens? I'm gonna go through another 50 rounds. Boo you. Boo 2? You 2. That number has been disconnected. Ain't that the truth? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Came up 3 short, dude. Topic today was talking about mainstream media and what it's doing to us. Actually, the funny thing is, so I followed Push Chef's Button, I was talking about Project Veritas initially. Because Project Veritas was releasing tapes on CNN. Basically, what they were saying is that CNN, obviously we know CNN is left leaning, right? To how far they're willing to go is what I'm interested in seeing, whether or not they caught on these CNN tapes, right? So their whole thing is they were trying to basically catch CNN in a lie. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Let's go ahead and do that and see if that works. Stop watching the news, man. Well, so here's the interesting thing about how I consume my news, right? Because at the end of the day, I really kind of don't care what's going on as long as it doesn't affect my family and my community, right? But unfortunately, we've all been tossed into this conundrum of crap that is 2020, and you kind of can't avoid it, right? So the idea here is to consume as much news as I can from both sides on the same story to understand, because we know where the biases lie. I want to know what the truth is, but no one gets the truth anymore because everyone's spinning something, right? There's always some sort of agenda going on. So how much agenda can we remove from it so that we can actually have the truth? Because that's my concern. No one's getting the truth. There's misinformation everywhere. It's all fake news. Well, here's the thing though. Fox is fake news. CNN's fake news. MSNBC's fake news. What isn't fake news anymore? Like, everyone's got a spin. Everyone's got an agenda. Everyone's selling something. What are you selling? Everyone's selling something. What are you selling? Right? That's always the question. And so I don't want to be sold anything anymore. I just want the information. Okay, I gotta zero that thing out. That's crap. Right? Everybody's selling something. All news is fake. Even the weathercasters are wrong most of the time. That's the only job, by the way, where you can be wrong 80% of the time and still have a job. Not everyone can pull red off. It's fair. They're the only job where you can be wrong 80% of the time and still have a job. It's crazy. But I'm told that it's hard. So I kind of just go with it. And always have an umbrella in the car. Parenting's like that too. Fair. Won't argue with you on that one. But when it comes to the news, right? When it comes to the news, it's about trying to mitigate the spin and have an understanding of what's actually being reported. All right. So the last time I bought bulk ammo, I was able to, I got it in a, well, I shouldn't say it, time before last. I got these containers. Not making it any easier. And so there's 50 rounds per container, and I saved them. Or at least I saved a bunch of them. And it's actually perfect for storing the new rounds that I'm developing. go! Corey! Bro, this mat is choice, bud. Thank you for sending this, man. I love it. I'll put it. I went and got it. They stuck it in my PO box, dude. They stuck it, like, folded it in half and stuck that thing in my PO box. I was dumbfounded. I thought for sure it was going to be too big. We came home with a book report project on Lord of the Flies, and they say cannibalism isn't real. Pretty sure we've confirmed that people have done it. So anyway, now I just got to get a Glock flag up here, right? You're gonna find that I'm a little bit of a Glock. I don't know, man. They're so easy to field strip. You can take that thing down in a matter of like 30 seconds. Clean it up. Doesn't take long. Just stupid simple, man. Keep it simple, y'all. The only problem I've got now is finding a slide for my Gen 4 so that I can mill it out and not having it cost me an arm and a leg. I used to have a vinyl one for shows. Dude, that would be dope. Not everyone can own a good gun like a Beretta. Ah! Did you know that not everyone can own a gun, period? And it's part of the reason why we're fighting for the 2A right now. Don't get me wrong, my Dexter's 92 FS is mighty nice. He's got a 92 FS. I've shot it. It's just it's a bigger gun than I need, especially when I carry appendix, right? Like I gotta have, you know, some room down there. Better be a Langdon tactical Beretta. What kind of Beretta do you have? I prefer a bow? No offense, Pixie, but you're not concealed carrying a bow. Gosh, what was the one? Hang on a sec. I got to double check. My brother got a 1911 at a going out of business sale for a gun shop. And now I don't remember what the brand is. But it was sick. Hold, please. It is an Ivor Johnson. An Ivor Johnson 1911. And it was such a good looking 1911. The inlays on the handles were just absolutely choice. They make compact bows. Let's put it this way. You're not going to be running around with the bow in your pants that you can pull out and have 30 rounds at your disposal. You're not going to carry 30 flipping arrows. No offense, sis. I don't care. I don't care how small that bow is. You're not going to have 30 rounds on you to take care of that. But yeah, my next upgrade, I want to put an optic. I want to put an optic on my 19. I want to put a Viper. I want to put a Vortex Viper on my 19 on my Gen 4. But I've been having a hard time finding someone who will mill a slide or where I can buy a slide. I don't want to send mine in. I don't want to send my OEM slide in because I want to keep that. I want to keep that slide as is. I don't want to send my OEM slide in. I want to buy a second slide, have it milled for a Vortex Viper. I would love to do like a Mako cut or something like that. Get some weight off the front. Run a Mako cut with a Vortex Viper. Overwatch Precision is good for work. Do they also sell the Gen 4 slides though? Still searching for a comfy thigh holster. I may have to end up making one. So I have my Blackhawk war belt that I run my drop leg on, but that's not necessarily something you would like want to run around in the woods with. I mean, you might, but like I've got, oh please. This is the setup I've got for my drop leg. So it's got the paddle on it. I've got a couple 9mm mags on it. Couple of 30 round mags on it. Dump pouch. Just like, this is just like extra calorie storage or whatever. Just a admin pouch, and then tourniquet. And this is what I'll run around on the range with this thing. The reason why I went with what I went with was because I wanted to be able to throw this on over shorts and not have to have a belt on if I didn't want to. So this is like my range setup. And this is what I run around with. It's a double strap too. So this thing is mega secure. It does not go anywhere. So I can leg up with this thing. I can jump over whatever. This thing is not moving. Like this thing is attached to my leg. It's not going anywhere. This is the Blackhawk drop leg with Serpa pistol. This is actually a tier 2 retention system. So you have to press a button here. I could do all the high kicks. All the high kicks. I just got to be careful. I don't want to knock anything over. But this is what I run on the range, and it doesn't go anywhere. And I can run full sprint in this get out without any issues. So, and like I said, I've got two pistol mags on me. I've got two 30 rounders on me, as well as all the admin and all that kind of stuff. Ordering his high heels next up. Yep, you got it. But I really this thing is like super comfortable. I don't have any issues I don't have any issues wearing this thing. Like, I will wear this thing around the house. Like, if I'm doing dry fire training, I can wear this thing for hours without feeling anything, honestly. By the way, if you guys are ever looking for a multi-tool, SOG replaced this after 3 years. Yeah, I kind of figured if you have any insight into where I can buy a slide, get it milled, and get it Cerakoted for like under 400, 4 to 5. No, it would be like 250 because the optic that I want to put on there is like 200. I'm trying to keep it under 5. Like, the gun itself is literally a $600 gun, right? If I would have I'm tempted to buy a second one and flipping just send that off to get milled, because I don't want to spend $500 to upgrade a $600 gun. You know what I mean? Yeah, so this was my SOG multi-tool. The tip on my old one broke off. Like, one of the tips broke off. And it sat on my workbench for like 3 years. I sent them the UPC and sent it back. And within 2 weeks, they had sent back a brand new multi-tool. And I was like, that's a company, that right there is a company that takes care of their people. Takes care of their customers. I've been carrying that thing ever since. So if you're looking for a good multi-tool, highly recommend going and looking at them. But yeah, I've been doing a combination of training out of my appendix holster and training out of the drop leg. I have a Leatherman. Yeah, I have a Leatherman as well. That's what I used for the last 3 years. Is this thing on or what? I want the cowboy combo for my Beretta M9, the PX4 Storm. Chambered in 9 and then uses the same mags as my pistol, so they're interchangeable. What? Really? What's the cowboy combo? It's not on, by the way. What is the cowboy combo? Is that a drop leg and like a chest thing? I'm not familiar with that setup. But yeah, it was interesting because in training, everyone was running out of a leg rig, and I didn't bring my leg rig for that training. I was doing everything. Everything was drawn out of appendix. Which made it kind of tough, too, because when I was using their cert pistol, it was a SIG P320 cert pistol. And obviously, being that I use a Glock, they had a Glock cert, too, but I couldn't use it for a couple of the drills that we were trying to do. Chef, I'm lost. I'm lost. But yeah, that's what I'm finding too, Corey, is that slides right now, finding slides are really tough. I've been looking for a couple of months. The only problem is that my appendix holster, I don't know if that will work with the optic. I might have to like grind out a little bit of it or modify it a little bit. Puke 320. I do have a bid on a 226 Extreme right now. What makes it extreme? I was actually looking, I saw a what was it, a mod 2? Springfield XDS mod 2. That comes with a Crimson Trace optic on it for like $519. My one concern with it is first off, I'm not familiar with Crimson Trace optics. Obviously they make good lasers, but I don't know how their optics are. And the second is the 3.3 inch barrel coming from a 4.1, coming from a 4.1 inch on the Glock 19 to going to a 3.3. That makes me kind of nervous. I'm looking for thigh because I'm tired of half undressing coats to dig out a weapon from a shoulder holster while hunting. As a backup weapon, we have coyotes moving through our hunting areas. I would look into Safari Land. Safari Land makes a drop that can go right on your belt. Now, granted, this could go right on your belt too. The one nice thing about this particular rig is that you could actually get belt loops for it. Of course, that thing is right in the way. You could get belt loops for it. So this belt loop is just a... It's just a Velcro webbing. So you could stick this on a regular belt and you could get loops that then connect up and you could just pop it in. And it's the same thing on the back side. This would actually, I try and run this a little high. So my leg straps are a little tight. Because I like to have my fingertips right at the end of the barrel, right? So on this Serpa holster, the handle's actually more up here. So when I like rest my arms, I'm kind of right at the end of the barrel. And then that's where I run my drop leg from, is from here. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is if I could, I would probably ride it even maybe a little bit higher. But this is comfortable enough with the double strap. This is comfortable enough that, again, like I can move and run with this thing. And the only thing that flops around is the fire starter. I've got a little, this is an HSGI, High Speed Gear Inc. It's called a pistol taco. It's called a pistol taco. That's what I run on this side too. This is what holds my pistol mags. It's an open top, bungee retention system. And so I actually run a single pistol taco that I could put a mag in here if I wanted, but I also have a fire starter in there. So this is kind of like a survival belt setup too. It's not fully, this isn't just a full run and gun system for me. This has got a little bit of like survival tooling in it as well. So it's a dual purpose setup for everything. But it's got mags, it's got pouches, it's everything that I would need if I had to run out the door like in the middle of the night. I could throw this on and have just about everything except the med pouch on me. The med pouch is on my chest rig. So you're going to get squished if it goes any higher. I mean, I still have some room in the groin to go higher. Barely, but... But I train out of both rigs fairly regularly. Those mags in the back seem high. They're not bad. if I put on the whole chest rig, this is also like, I don't necessarily train with my full getup on every time, right? Like I'll go to the range and this is just here. Right? Pretty much. I don't need any more kids. Ain't nobody need that. But these don't clash. These don't clash with my chest rig. So they're a little high, but I mounted them. They're mounted as low as I can kind of go without. I mean, I've got it fully attached using the quick release. What the flock? Why can't I think of the name of the freaking strips that I've got? Meant specifically for Molly. No, they're not bad. I mean, I again, like if I'm operating, like if I've got a rifle on, right? I mean, I use a 2-point sling, and usually, like if I'm shooting, the sling will be a little looser, but like if I have to strap it down, I can just cinch it, pull it down. Malice strips, that's what I was looking for, and you know, draw pistol or whatever I need to do. If I'm reloading, this is like a last resort. I've got 3 mags on the chest. So I've got 1 in the gun, 3 on the chest. I'm not worried about getting to these unless it's a last resort. If I've gone through all of this, I'm in big trouble anyway. Like if I get through the chest rig, I'm probably in big trouble anyway. This is also more for like if someone else like in my team needed a mag, they can get quick access off my belt too, right? Like if we're in a breaching line, right? Or someone's coming up and you know they're dry, right? They've got access to mine too, in addition to me having 3 on the chest. So I know I'm also not in a war, right? So my setup is geared for more of the like SHTF type of scenario. Carrying a minimum of 5 pistol mags and 10 rifle mags. Well, see, but those are folks that are in what, law enforcement or military, right? They're literally going into a war zone. I'm training for crap. I did not tear that. I'm training for more of like a pure SHTF scenario. I'm not a military guy. I've never been in the military, but I've done a fair bit of training and study with everything. So I'm looking at this well, this goes beyond home defense, right? I'm fully willing to admit this goes way beyond home defense. This is excessive for home defense. Unless we're talking about like riot home defense, right? Like people are rioting and are threatening to burn down your house home defense, right? That's a different story. And part of why I have a setup like this. You would have more stuff off body anyways from a prepping standpoint. Right, exactly. I keep my carrier. My carrier is very slick. My carrier is very slick. But I would want to be able to, if I didn't have to, right? I could swap. Those mags on the belt are the same height as the setup of a military. That's not too many. I carry 4 mags every day just with my concealed carry. I mean, I've got 1 in and 1 in the mag holder. I don't carry 4. I only carry 2 personally. How you doing, Spartan? It's good to see you, brother. I define home defense more along the lines of there's a single intruder coming in the middle of the night. Now, I've thought of if I have 5 guys bust into my house in the middle of the night. First off, I'm probably shooting my way out of my bedroom to get to my sons who are not on the same floor as me, right? And I've got a plan for that, but that's a scenario that that's a scenario where I would probably throw this on, have my pistol with me, have these mags loaded up, have these mags loaded up, because I'm not going to throw on my full chest rig too. Are you still under quarantine, Spartan? So these are the same height as a setup in the military. Well, all right, hang on. Might as well go all in on it if you guys are asking, right? So this is the full setup. This is what you're looking at when I would be running the full gear set, right? I got 3 slick on here. 3 slick on here. Medical shears, trauma shears. 3 full mags, multi-tool, flashlight, med pack, and knife and radio, right? So I don't have a problem clearing this based on, and it's really hard to see because it's dark. Under restrictions the entire time here at Hood. Had 3 COVID tests already. 1 belt on my 6 and 1 ankle. Both with a mag and an extra. Where do you carry the ankle mag? Oh, you only have 32. So you have 4 mags because your mags only hold 8 rounds. I hold 15. So I've got 30 rounds on me when I'm carrying appendix anyway. Right. I mean, this is again, this is like a combined combat / prepping setup. I'm completely slick back here. I actually have Molly webbing on here that I could put something, but if I need to throw on a backpack, I want that clear, right? This belt is already uncomfortable enough with a backpack on. I kind of have to drop it lower in order to throw a backpack on, right? But this is like an SHTF, I'm going out the door type of scenario that I've got 5 mags, 2 pistol mags, plus what's in the guns. I've got the pistol on the thigh rig and a 2-point sling, right? So, and I've got basically everything that I need. I've got a trauma kit here. I've got my tourniquet, right? I've got my tourniquet back here. I've got my med kit here. Trauma shears are up here. I've got a couple of beaners that have never been in salt water, right? And then I've got my comms pre-routed. I've got my comms pre-routed with a little earpiece that I can throw in when I'm getting close to where I'm going to be heading out to, right? Or if I need to run comms with my wife or anyone else that's on a public channel. Now, I don't run a ham radio because I don't have a ham operator's license right now. I could get one if it came down to it, but that's not something that I've gone deep into yet. But this is what the full setup looks like, and you can see that I've got plenty of room to pull these mags out because they're far enough behind right? That they don't interfere with the radio, they don't interfere with the Gerber strong arm that I carry on me. It doesn't interfere with anything from that perspective. So I've got a full kit if I need it, but I generally don't go to the range looking like this. I will go to the range with just my belt, and that's usually what I train with. I do train dry fire stuff at home with the rifle, but you haven't left the community, bro. You're still here. I ain't forgot about you. I know how it goes. My best friend just got back from a 10-month deployment, dude. You don't forget about someone just because they can't be around all the time. Come on now. You know better than that. All right. I think at the end of the day, though, it comes down to understanding like what is your purpose for your gear and making sure that you're geared out for that purpose. Not all of us, I can't afford to have more than one setup, so I set mine up to be like a end all be all type of scenario, right? 2 on the belt are a last resort anyways. If you go through those 90 on the chest, well, it's 120, right? Because there's 30 in the gun too. I've got 30 in the rifle plus 90 on the chest, and then another 60 on the hip. If I go through all of that, I'm in deep trouble, regardless of how you look at it. Learning one side I never knew. Well, that's part of what I wanted Homestead Heroic to be. I don't talk about this stuff because, frankly, a lot of people are scared of this stuff. They don't like talking about it because they're terrifying. Right? People are scared of this stuff. They don't want to talk about what it would look like. And again, I don't go straight doomsday prepper, but I have enough to be self-sufficient if crap went down. Right? 20 minutes from, like, stuff went down within a half an hour of my house. People were shot. People were killed. Not too far away from my house. Millions of dollars of damage was done by looting and rioting. If that ended up in my neighborhood, me and my neighbors are prepared to deal with that if it came down to it. Right. And I get, like, if you don't want it to be part of your life, the beautiful thing about this country is it doesn't have to be. Right? That's one thing that I actually don't have, Callistia. I carry my buck knife with me everywhere I go, but it's just a little lockback. You can see it's very well used too. But I only really carry a lockback on me and my utility. You carry that with you? What are you, Crocodile Dundee? Good Lord. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up on this. I'm trying to keep up on this Veritas stuff. 2 realty agents were murdered across the street from the house I grew up in. Exactly. This knowledge is how they got those freedoms. Agreed. Walter P. 22 at home for defense. Looking to get another weapon for concealed carry once I get back. So my recommendation for anyone looking to get in concealed carry is when COVID ends, when you can actually go back to a range and do so, I recommend trying out like 15, 20, 25 guns and figuring out what feels the most comfortable for you. A lot of ranges. I mean, we've got a range in the area that literally will let you come in. They will let you shoot whatever you want for an hour. You can go back to the counter as many times as you want, as long as you provide that. Not like I knew I was going 9mm. I have a Glock 19. Glock 19 Gen 4. I love it. I conceal carry it in a dude, the G48 looks nice. How long of a barrel is that? The G48 looks real nice. I've been looking really hard at trying to get an optic on it though. Right now I've got True Glows on it, which are fine. And I would probably go with suppressor height sights as a backup. 19 is a 4.1 inch barrel. The 17 I think is a 4.2 or 3. It's just slightly longer. Once you start getting into the G26 and the G48, you're starting to look at the 3.X range as far as barrel length goes. That's when you start getting into truly like a concealed carry type pistol. G19's like right on the edge. Nice. Holy cow. How long is that? Oh wow, that's next to your mouse. So that blade is yeah, that's got to be at least 10, huh? Really? Wait, the G48 is longer than the G19? I thought the G48 was shorter. 15? Good Lord. Someone's compensating. Okay, yeah. I was going to say the Glock 17 is I didn't realize it was that much longer. I don't know if I can. I don't have like a desktop. Hang on. Let me see if I can add a display device or a display capture. Ah! It's crazy. Okay, hang on. So that's the mouse for comparison's sake. That's literally a Rambo knife and a half. I like the handle on that one. It's a really nice handle. I couldn't imagine carrying that on me though. Then again, you're like 6'4", so there's that. That's not a fillet knife. That blade is way too thick for a fillet knife. That you might be able to get away with using that thing for gutting a deer. Really? I did not know the G48 was I thought the G48 was a smaller weapon. The G26 is absolutely a concealed carry weapon. I can fillet with anything. I mean, it's fair. I don't know. It's really funny because you've got the folks that literally swear by Glocks, and then you've got the folks that hate Glocks because they're so loved. I probably fall somewhere in between. I love my Glock 19. I chose it for a reason. But I also don't mind other things. So there's that. Was that a legal thing, Corey? You had to have a slightly longer barrel for legal, like, is there Canadian restrictions or something like that? That's something that I know nothing about is other countries other than like straight up just gun law type stuff, right? Did the G48 go single stack? So there's regulations against the length of the barrel? Because they don't do concealed carry, do they? Holy crap. You're not lying. That thing's only an inch thick. I guess the Glock 19 is only 1.34. It just, like, in that picture, it looked insanely thinner than the G19, but it's only like a quarter of an inch. Well, sure. No one has written into their constitution the right to bear arms the way that we have in the States. And I think that's the major difference between us and everybody else. Yo, sounds good, Beak. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. We're actually gonna get wrapped up here too. I'm gonna kind of finish up a few rounds here, but I need to get to sleep. The Windows guys are gonna be here again tomorrow at 8, and I want to make sure that I'm up and get the other kid out of the house. I also have to bring our youngest to the doctor for their 2.5-year checkup or whatever it is. So we're getting ready to wrap anyway. Your system's not perfect. You mean just the way that you manufacture your weapons? I was drawn to Glock because of how it felt to shoot. Whoops. I just double dipped that one. Oh, our system's not perfect, but it is better than the rest. No, our country. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Glock for a minute. No, agreed. Our country is far from perfect, but I will tell you right now that the freedoms that we enjoy as American citizens, you don't get anywhere else. There's a reason why our Constitution was written the way that it was written, and the people who want to get rid of it are a threat to our democracy. The question is how far are we willing to allow them to degrade our country? That's the real question. I've traveled many places, but I will always live here. Jeez, oh Pete's, what is going on with this scale? Heck yeah, Spartan. I appreciate it, dude. Thank you for hanging out, man. I appreciate you being here, dude. Truly. The fact that we've got so many people who are interested in this side of things, I'm very grateful that we've got core community members who are as passionate about some of this stuff as I am. and it's a nice little outlet to be able to talk about stuff that we just won't talk about on the gaming side, because people don't want to they don't want to talk about it, or it doesn't have a place. So it's nice to be able to kind of vent this stuff and chat about stuff that we wouldn't otherwise talk about. Not to mention I get, a few hours to, make some bullets and stuff like that. Do you really think that those people who leave those countries want to change this country to be that way? I don't think so. I feel like immigrants to this country are way more, probably way more patriotic than half of the flippin' natural born citizens are. I feel like there are a lot of people in this country who don't realize how good we have it. PB&J, glass of milk, and talking knives and guns. It's a good night. You darn right. I feel like there's a lot of natural born citizens who have never experienced hardship. And they don't look at these other countries and see how bad it actually is. Oh, for sure. Dude, I don't know what's going on. My scale here is measuring short. This is why I double check and why I run 2 scales. Just to make sure I don't end up with absurdly light or heavy loads. I mean, I'm showing a 0 on that scale, so... But yeah, I'm loading my... These are all my practice rounds that I'm loading. Should have to leave the country in some way to get a taste of how good they have it. Oh, agreed. Well, and especially if a lot of people don't like... And again, seeing images or video of war-torn countries doesn't do justice people who have actually been there. Men and women in the military who have served in these countries where it's bad, right? And they have socialist or communist regimes in place. And then people are like, oh, but I want socialism and communism. I'm like, are you paying any attention at all to what that looks like in implementation? Because while it might sound nice that everyone lives the same in perfect harmony with one another, in implementation and logistics, it doesn't work like that. Never does. Never comes out that way. And that's what I have a problem with is people they think they want something, and they think that if we go that route, it'll all work out. Where people are flawed. People are power hungry, greedy grabbers that's how it's always going to be. That's human nature, right? And if you give people too much power, they will do anything up and through killing you to keep it. They will not hesitate. So I'm not willing to sacrifice what we've got for a pie in the sky freaking fantasy land that will cause more problems than it will good. And I sure as heck am not gonna stand up for giving the government more power than it has already. It's already got too much. Let people be. Let them live their life and deal with the rest of it as it comes. So, but anyway, y'all, I appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much for spending some time here at Homestead Heroic. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. Like I said, it's an opportunity for us to get together and talk about things that we won't talk about on the gaming side of things. So we're going to keep doing this. Like I said, a couple of things. If you guys want to follow on Insta, if you guys have not done so already, make sure that you follow on Instagram. I do have a Twitter as well. And if you guys are feeling mighty spicy, I also have a Patreon that has a couple different levels of access. And that Patreon is also a fantastic way to support if you had to choose between one or the other, Patreon pays better. So I'm going to continue making content on both of these. I think that we're probably going to be doing Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights, it seems like it's going to be the night that we do Homestead Heroic stuff. And so we're going to continue to do live stream content, talking about various preparedness type of stuff. We'll talk everything from gardening. Most of the time we're going to be here on the bench, right? I'm going to be reloading ammo, but we could talk about whatever we want. We could talk about gardening. We could talk about homesteading. We could talk about livestock. We could talk about conspiracy theories, politics, faith, whatever. And so I kind of have some ideas for what that's going to look like for certain topics, but we're going to continue to do that stuff. And then I also will be releasing, like I said, I took a 2-hour personal self-defense course. Yeah, we could talk hunting. We could talk whatever. It's been a long time since I've hunted, but I've been wanting to get back into it. So we could talk hunting, we could talk fishing, we could talk all of that stuff. It's all relevant for self-sustainability. So I am down to talk about whatever we want to talk about as a community. So we'll continue to do this on Tuesday nights. And then nice. That's awesome. Where are you headed? But I will be releasing an edit, a self-defense edit on Patreon. It will be exclusively on Patreon because I was asked specifically by the Navy SEAL who was training me to not release this out on YouTube for the general public. So we are going to release that on Patreon only once I get that edited. So Del Rio near the border. Nice. What are you hunting? Yeah, I have a 30-06 kitted right now. That I'll be using for hunting. And then I don't actually have any like camo or orange for rifle season here in Wisco, but I think our big issue right now is just we don't have any land to hunt on. There's plenty of public land, but we've not done any scouting or anything like that. Plus I have to take time away. And I normally stream on the weekends, so it's going to be one of those things where it's going to have to be an active decision to schedule hunting season in and do enough scouting to make sure that we have a successful hunting season. Nice. My brother just got a 6.65 Creedmoor that absolutely is just a nail driver, dude. He was doing holes and holes at 100 with his Creedmoor. It's sick. Father-in-law's property, not sure what they have on the property. Get to take the new 270 out. Nice. I like it, dude. 11-inch. Really? 6.5 seems to be getting very popular. I know more than one person who has a 6.5 Creedmoor now. It's interesting to see how the calibers are starting to shift. We're seeing work into 10 mil, right? There's quite a few 10 mil pistols out there now. 6.5. It's interesting to see how things morph. And we'll see if AR pistols are even legal anymore, because apparently the SBA 3 pistol brace is under attack by the ATF. The ATF wants to take that away. So we're gonna see how that plays out. Apparently that was never officially denied, but never officially approved? Question mark. So, like I said, I want to build a 9mm truck gun at some point. But anyway, y'all, appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you for spending the time. We'll be back here probably right around 8 p.m. Central Time next Tuesday. And then we'll be over on Twitch tomorrow for our normal 4 p.m. stream. So, appreciate you guys hanging. Thank you for spending the time. And make sure you guys join the Discord. Because yeah, we do have a Homestead Heroic channel in the Discord that we talk about all this stuff in. So make sure you join that up. Thanks for hanging. We'll see you guys next time. Be safe. And we'll see you guys soon.
The further we move on from all those yesterdays, happiness gets nearer. The light that we see closing in so fast ahead, it's hope, it's getting clearer. The more I think of all the tough times we survived, the more it makes me smile. If nothing's broken us, yeah, nothing ever will. 'Cause dreams are hard to kill.
What is Homestead Heroic? For me, it's a vision, the desire to be self-sufficient, to provide for my family in a way that ensures I'm beholden to no man, to be a little more reliant on God's provision and a little less reliant on the supply chain. The focus is on community, learning, self-reliance, and personal responsibility. Learning from one another, an opportunity to teach, an opportunity to learn. The content of this channel will be focused on many things regarding self-sustainability, homesteading, gardening, reloading, defense training, building, crafting. Many disciplines will be taught, and I have no doubt that many more will be learned. I can't wait to share this journey with you, and I hope you're equally excited to go on it with me. Welcome to Homestead Heroic. Be strong, stay safe, keep the faith, and Godspeed.